One of the most classic horror tropes, the curse of the mummy, will come get you because you don't know how to leave anything alone. Well, here's the thing, some of these curses have actually been able to pull through and surround those who caused it with dark energy. Some of these dudes even die. Hello again, Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host Tootin, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Today we're going to be digging up some artifacts and digging our own grave with our list of top 10 scary ancient Egyptian mummy curses. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And stick around for the whole list because I'm going to be answering some questions from my Instagram inbox. Remember, if you want to ask me a question, you can hit me up through the gram. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have the Curse of Tutankhamun. As I see it, this one is either number 1 or number 10. This is probably the most famous mummy curse of all, so I could squeeze it into the number 1 spot, but also I want to keep this list a little bit unpredictable. This tomb was opened back in 1923, and on the wall of the tomb it read, "Death shall come on swift wings to those who disturb the peace of the pharaoh." That is a pretty clear message. I don't know why no one picked up on the fact that something was going to go down if they open up this tomb. But as we know, when it comes to colonizing, the people involved rarely pay attention to the negatives. The leader of this excavation died from blood poisoning, and 7 more people died prematurely. There's one thing that I will never do, and it is open up some old mummy tomb because I don't need that bad mojo in my life. I only want good vibes that get brought on from drinking ocean spray and riding a longboard. Coming in at number 9, we have the severed hand. If you're super rich and powerful, I think you reach a point where you just start collecting things because you have nothing else to conquer. Instead of finding some sort of inner peace and moving away from material life, you just consume endlessly, trying to fill the empty void inside you, but trust me, it doesn't work. Sir Bruce Ingram was a rich and powerful person in England, and he had some friends who were digging up mummies in Egypt. One of his pals sent him over a mummy hand, and it was a gift, not something I would want to be sent. I'm more into practical gifts, I would be happier with a kettlebell. But something Ingram's friend should have told him was that there was a bracelet on the hand that said, "Curse be to he who moves my body." Yeah, I definitely prefer the kettlebell over a cursed mummy hand. Well, the curse came in full swing when Ingram's home caught on fire and then was hit by a flood. I guess in one way you could look at this as a blessing because water puts out fire, but his home was trashed. Coming in at number 8, we have the Curse of Sinmut. Some curses haven't got the opportunity to activate. On the wall of Sinmut's tomb it says, "His life shall not exist on earth." That's a pretty clear threat and a curse I don't want to dabble with. However, this guy might get his shot soon. People are currently working on this tomb to make it a public attraction. I'm sure one person going through there will slip up and get cursed. Also, the translation says, "His life shall not exist on earth," so I think ladies are free to visit. Coming in at number 7, we have Mummies on a Boat. Someone get Sam Jam on the phone, I have an idea for a movie. This story comes from 1699. Mummies must have been a huge hit back then. There was no TV, so digging up some old dusty bones with witchcraft attached to them would have been one of the most exciting things you could do. Well, in 1699, a book came out called Treatise of Embalming. There was apparently a true story in this book that talked about a man who was transporting 2 mummies he had just purchased via sailboat, and something very strange started happening. The ghost of the 2 men started to appear on the boat. These visions were terrifying and probably a warning that something worse was about to come. So this man did the intelligent thing and he threw the 2 mummies overboard. If he had kept them on board, they would have eaten him up faster than Joey Chestnut eats tube-shaped meat.
Oh, sorry, 3, 2, 1, go! It's the 100th anniversary and we are underway.
Coming at number 6, we have the Curse of Hamuru. This is a nice sounding curse on the wall of some guy's tomb. It reads, "I shall seize his neck like that of a goose." So this dude isn't going to put a curse on you that will give you some sort of sickness that takes you out. He's going to personally come to you and choke you to death. Also, they had geese in ancient Egypt? Who knew? I thought the first goose was born when Wayne Gretzky scored his first goal. Coming in at number 5, we have a cursed thief. Here's the thing. If you're gonna steal, you need to follow these tenets. Make sure you don't get caught. Make sure the item has high resale value, and make sure that the item you're stealing isn't cursed. If you follow those rules, you'll be a master thief before you know it. But this is one of the most famous stories in Don't Mess with Mummies. A German tourist decided he would visit an Egyptian tomb and steal something from a mummy. Little did he know you're not supposed to do that. The tourist eventually got extremely sick, became paralyzed, and then died from a mysterious cause. Now what made this case so famous was when his stepson sent the cursed item back to Egypt. It arrived at the German embassy in Egypt with a note saying that the son felt in order to lift the curse from his family, he had to return the artifact to Egypt. Coming in at number 4, we have the Book of the Dead, a spell book from ancient Egypt that has been said to give the person who can control it the power to control the dead and walk amongst those from the afterlife. That sounds like quite the party trick. I don't know if that would be something I would mess around with in my day-to-day. I try to avoid death at all costs, so trying to decipher a cursed book of the dead sounds like it would give me the future I would not be looking for. And it should be no surprise that Aaron Amber, one of the men involved in excavating the Book of the Dead, died just a few years after it was dug up. Him and his wife were hosting a wondrous dinner party. They were probably bragging about this amazing book they found, and someone made an offhanded joke about ancient Egypt, and then next thing you know, Amber's house was on fire and he died there. So I don't know if you want to try and read that book, but I think I'll skip the opportunity for supernatural powers at the risk of death. Coming in at number 3, we have The Curse Consumes You. I don't know what it would be like to be cursed. I can imagine it wouldn't be fun. I think it's probably the feeling you have when you haven't done your homework and you know it's due tomorrow but you still don't do it, and now you just have to sit there in your anxiety while you continue to not do it. If anyone has survived an ancient Egyptian curse, let me know in the comments. But for archaeologist Hugh Evelyn White, it would seem that the curse was able to work its way into his soul and take his life. White was found dead after he committed suicide by hanging himself. White was an archaeologist who disturbed quite a few mummies in his day, so if curses are real, it's safe to say that this dude had a curse or two attached to him. Now this is where the urban legend surrounding his death works its way in. Apparently there was a note left behind that said, "I have succumbed to the curse which forces me to disappear." The note might be made up to add some spice to the story, but if it's real, you can bet I will never dig again just in case I bump into any mummies. Coming in at number 2 is the Curse of Osiris. You think if you were digging up a tomb in ancient Egypt and you found a statue of the god of death, you would just turn around and go home. Like, not even back to base camp. You would just pack up all your things, fly all the way home, and start working as a used car salesman. Just a complete fresh start. Well, some people aren't as quick to abandon ship as me, and maybe they should be, because back in 1971 there was an excavation of a mummy's tomb in Saqqara. The head Egyptologist came across a statue of Osiris, and instead of going through with the little game plan I just laid out, he removed the statue of the god of death from the tomb and took it back to his office with his assistants. Once him and his assistant were settled in, he stepped into the bathroom to relieve himself, and that's when his assistant heard screaming coming from the bathroom. He rushed in to find the Egyptologist on the ground. He succumbed to some sort of paralysis and then died the next day. So a mystery paralysis that kills you in less than 24 hours could be explained by medical science or a spell from the god of death. Coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Titanic mummy. We like to think that the Titanic sank because of human ignorance, and that's probably what happened. Saying that a boat was unsinkable in the early 20th century is one of the most insane claims you can make, but it's still fun to speculate on the supernatural. But this is how the story goes, and just so we're clear, the majority of this story is 100% true. There was a museum in England that was housing the mummy of the Princess of Anamera. It was a wonderful piece of history, but it was said to be cursed. Rumors of the curse being true seemed to solidify when a museum guard died out of nowhere. So the museum thought it would be a good idea to get this thing the hell out of there and then send it off to America. This priceless mummy from ancient Egypt worked its way onto the Titanic, and then we know what happened from there. Some people seem to think that it was the curse from this ancient mummy that brought down the unsinkable ship, and maybe they're right. Alright guys, that has been the list. Now I'm going to answer some questions. Kim Kill Wan wrote in and asked, top 10 scary Dragon Ball theories. That's not a question, but I get where you're coming from with this. I think I could do a good job with this list. I've watched all the way through Dragon Ball Z. I've almost finished Dragon Ball Super, but I have never watched the original Dragon Ball. I could do a decent breakdown of some of the theories I have floating around in my head, but we'll have to save those for the actual video. Elijah Kukik wrote and asked, can Canadians hold their alcohol as good as Slavs? I think Canadians do really well with beer. I'm pretty sure if a Canadian drinker was going toe to toe with someone Slavic and they were both drinking some foamy beer, the Canadian could edge out the win. But if they were doing something hard like vodka, which I'm sure Slavic people drink a lot more often, then I think the Slavic person would be able to beat out the Canadian. And finally, we have iMcMath175 who wrote in and asked, Che, how do you get the ladies? I need some tips from a chick magnet like you. Can you help out? Honestly, dude, just start working on your body, get in good shape, that's a huge help. Make sure when you're talking to a girl you actually listen and remember what she says. Most guys don't listen at all and they don't even care. Be nice but not simpy, and also be a slow texter. That's a key move. Alright guys, that has been our list. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I have been your host, Che Dorena, and don't touch any mummies.